Hi there, Elise Dewsberry here from New Musicals Inc. with which one is this now? 103 in my series of how to get no feedback from Elise, and step 3 of my little mini series about pitching. So, in the first episode of this little mini series, I talked about the number one priority of why are you writing this musical? Why are you the one who has to write it? And then step number 2 is make sure that in your initial pitch you give the producer your story, your theme, your basic idea, as opposed to the nuts and bolts of your plot. That can come later. So step 3, what I'm going to talk about is demos. Okay, so it's a musical. So obviously, if somebody isn't excited about your music, nothing is going to happen. Yes, the book has to be strong, and a book will really make a musical. But if it doesn't have exciting music, you're not going to be able to hook anybody into it. So what kind of demos do you need to provide to somebody to get them interested in taking another step? You may not give them a demo in the very first step. You may simply tell them why you're the one who should be writing this musical and your basic story about the story you're trying to tell. See if you can hook them. And then the next thing they're going to want to know is, yeah, but what about the music? Okay, so a number of years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, 10 years ago, I would have said, you can sit down at a piano with a tape recorder. Remember what those, I don't know if you know what those are, but in the old days when we had tape recorders, you could push play and just have the composer just sort of sing along. And it doesn't matter if they're in tune or if they're the right sex for whatever they're singing. None of that matters. Well, those are the old days. That is not true anymore. Why has there been a change? There's been a change, a major change over the last, I would say, 10 years, I guess, or certainly 5, but probably 10 years, because the advancement of the tools that are available to you as a composer in your home studio that aren't terribly expensive have, it's just by leaps and bounds what you're able to do at home. And so the idea that you're just going to, have the composer sing along to a piano accompaniment, which used to be fine, because otherwise you would be spending, tons and tons of money going into a recording studio. And people who were in development of musicals knew that, and they didn't expect you in the very early days to be going into a studio and spending a lot of money. Nowadays, you can get pretty good recordings without spending a lot of money. Not necessarily that it's free, but you don't have to spend a lot of money. You can work in a home studio. You can use AI tools. There are tons of them available now. There are a lot of things that you can do to make your demos pretty snazzy from day one and not have to worry about the amount of money that you're investing in them, knowing that this is development and this song could disappear, this character could disappear, this song could become for someone else, the lyrics will change. There are many, many reasons why um, demos will change or become obsolete almost the minute you record them. And so in the old days, that meant you were really cautious about how much money that you spent on those demos when you knew that you might not quite be ready to be spending that kind of money. Nowadays, you don't have to spend that kind of money. The tools are available to you out there for much less. And because of that, producers expect more. They want to hear fully produced or uh, uh, demos that sound like they're fully produced, even if you've done them, in a home studio with AI tools. They want them to sound fully produced. Now, do you have to have one of those for every single song on your show? No. You do not have to go to the time and effort, even if it's not terribly expensive. You don't have to go to the time and effort of doing this for every single song in your show. When you are sending your materials to a producer, the more demos you have, the better. There's no strict rule about it. Do you have to have a demo for every single song? No. Is it good if you have a demo for every single song? Yes. You better have at least 3 to 5 demos minimum. The more you can have, the better. But here's the distinction. The ones that sound really fully produced and that maybe you have to spend a little more money for, you only need 3 or 4 of those. And you can pick those very carefully. Your opening number, your big I want ballad, your power number, your first act finale or the end of the show, or some really, pick 3 or 4 songs that are you think your best, and that also between them, when you add them up, show the range of your score, the different kinds of songs that you have. Like you don't want them all to be ballads. You want to throw in a group number, have a trio in there, have a beautiful ballad in there, show some variety, as much variety as you can in 3 or 4 demos, and really spend the time and effort and potentially money to make sure those are really good. The rest of them don't have to be quite as good. The rest of them, they still shouldn't just be the composer singing along to the piano, because you can do better than that nowadays. But they don't have to be as fully produced. But put your time and your efforts into 3 to 5 that are really really representative, so that someone can go, this is what this score could sound like if all of the songs had this kind of effort to them. That means, arrangements as well, not just piano. The other songs, the rest of the demos really could be piano only. You don't have to create tracks for all of the songs, as long as you've done it for 3 to 5 to give a really good idea of how you think it could sound with the kind of orchestration that you're thinking. And I would certainly encourage you. Nowadays, we are in a world where AI provides you with many tools to pull this off, not only for the orchestrations themselves. There's some pretty good tools out there, but there are some tools out there now that will allow you to have AI singers for your demos. Now, I almost hesitate to say this because as a singer myself and as someone who works with singers, I remember the first time that someone came to one of my classes with a demo that was AI voices, and I hadn't heard them before. And I commented, I said something about, who was singing that. And they said, oh, those are all AI voices. And then the next time I was in a recording session with a bunch of people that I record with a lot, I played it for them and said, these are AI voices. And, to a person, their jaws fell to the ground and they all said, oh my God, I'm out of work. So there is that side of it that demo singers are thinking, oh no, you don't need me. Now, I would say it's not that severe. Here's what I would say. When you're in the very early stages of development and you just don't know if these songs are going to stick around and you're trying to get something together quickly, I think AI voices are a big boon. I think down the road you should get real people, because there is a difference, and I can spot it now. When I'm listening to demos, I can tell when it's AI voices, and there's something special about what a human brings to the phrasing, and that not that you can't get that with AI, but that the amount of time and effort that you would have to put into massaging what comes out of the box with AI, you might as well just get a person. So I certainly advocate that you get people eventually. But early days, first demo is something where you're not sure whether this song is going to stick or not. I think that the AI voices are really, really useful. Here's something that I would recommend that you be careful of, though. If you're working with AI orchestrations, I mean, I've said this for years about, even the output from Dorico or Finale or Sibelius or whatever, you put in your piano vocal part, and then you have the software play it back to you, and you can decide the instrumentation. I've said for years that you need to be really careful to make sure that an actual human being could play those notes, because AI will play anything you give it, but that doesn't mean that a human being who has 10 fingers and certain span and all that can actually do it. The same is even more true of AI singers. So if you are using AI singers at the early demo stages, just be careful to remember that human beings can't necessarily, AI will sing any range that you give them. They'll be able to sing low notes that people don't have and high notes that people don't have, and they'll be able to do it all without taking a single breath. But human beings aren't like that. So when you are using AI, try to remember the difference that would happen if a human being is singing it. What is realistic for the range of a soprano or a tenor or a baritone or an alto or whatever it is that you're using, and give them a chance to breathe. But back to the basic topic, which is you do need demos. You do need well-produced demos, at least 3 to 5 of them for your show, and as many more as you can get with slightly lesser production values. And in that arena, the only thing I would say is please try to make sure that you don't sing yourself or get, a family member or a friend to sing who is out of tune. There is absolutely nothing worse than having to listen to a demo. I can sometimes forgive it if I know that it's the composer, but if I think it's the composer's wife or brother or something like that, then I lose my patience pretty quickly if it's not in tune. So please try to make sure that it's in tune, that you have hire singers that can sing in tune. Okay, I think that's all I have to say about demos. They're important. All right. So thanks and toodaloo.